Politicians in the United States are doubling down on the FUD against Bitcoin, talking about ransomware and energy concerns. While in Central and South America, we're seeing the dominoes fall for adoption and already seeing volcanoes potentially being used to mine Bitcoin in El Salvador. What is going on? I'm going to take a look at the Bitcoin chart and all the news driving markets today. Let's go. What is up, everybody? I'm Scott Melker, also known as the Wolf of Wall Street. Before we get started, please subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and hit or smash or do whatever you're going to do with that like button down below. As I mentioned, we have news on both sides, bullish and bearish, across the world about crypto today. And it seems that the news cycle is once again igniting surrounding Bitcoin. I'm going to take a look at the charts first, and then we're going to dig into all of that news. But suffice it to say, there is a lot going on. Now, you can see here on the Bitcoin daily chart that we had this beautiful hammer reversal candle 2 days ago. And yesterday's candle was absolutely massive, engulfing all of these bearish candles before it. That is a huge move on decent volume. Not quite as much as the volume of the drop the day below, but that looks like capitulatory volume because it ended up in this hammer candle with this long wick down. You get that long wick when there's lots of buying volume, and that candle could have very easily turned green right at the end of the day and been buying bullish volume. Today, we're not seeing as much encouraging movement, but we've still got about 8 hours left, so nothing too much to worry about. As you can see, as I discussed for the last few days, we had this MACD cross on both the histogram here and the MAs, and we have a slight bullish divergence here on the blue MA with this clear elbow up right here and the higher lows on the MACD and lower lows on price. Very encouraging there. We just don't want to see it turn down and go the other way. Now, looking at the daily chart on RSI, we see a similar picture. We had bullish divergence, hidden bearish divergence, bullish divergence, hidden bearish divergence, and again, confirmed bullish divergence yesterday. But we now have a higher high on RSI potentially and a lower high on price. That would give us another hidden bearish divergence, canceling that bull div. We want to see RSI not make a definitive elbow down like this by the end of the day. We want to see it continue up. We need to get it above 39,219.88, this line right here, to invalidate that hidden bearish divergence. So right now, this still looks like a simple reactionary bounce and not a reversal yet. As you can see on the chart I just showed before, we got to get above 42,000. That's it. That was the highs from the move up from 20,000. It took Tesla buying 1.5 billion in Bitcoin to get above it, and now we're trading below it. So at the end of the day, we just got to get above that line to really have any conversation about true bullishness on the Bitcoin chart right now. As you can see on the 4 hour yesterday, and while I was on a live stream yesterday, we saw price break through the EQ of this range. Very encouraging. We're now trading in the top half of the range again after the breakdown here. And we flipped the 50 MA, and price was dropping during the stream. People were freaking out, and I said, listen, this is where you enter if you're scalping. 50 MA, EQ of the range, that's the 50% level of this red range. That's a lot of confluence of support. That's exactly where it bounced. So you could have got an entry about 35,936 on move up to over 38,000. But this candle right here, so far in the 4 hours, not great, about to close. So I think that now we want to see the top half of this range hold, knowing there is a ton of resistance ahead. Guys, this is encouraging. It could be the start of a bounce or reversal, but there's nothing really to talk about on the bullish side, in my opinion, unless we get back above 42,000. Now let's dive into all the news that's driving the market first. We know that El Salvador adopted Bitcoin as legal tender. It's already on Wikipedia as one of their national currencies. And on a Twitter Spaces call just 2 nights ago, people asked questions about mining, and they said that wasn't in the plans. Well, yesterday, they said that mining was in the plans. They were going to do it from volcanoes. And then only hours later, here's the president, Nayib Bukele of El Salvador, saying, our engineers just informed me that they dug a new well that will provide approximately 95 megawatts of 100% clean, zero emissions geothermal energy from our volcanoes, starting to design a full Bitcoin mining hub around it. What you see coming out of the well is pure water vapor. This is completely renewable, clean energy, not on the grid, and 95 megawatts is absolutely massive. They can just mine clean Bitcoin literally endlessly here with volcanic energy. In less than 48 hours, they weren't even talking about mining, and now they're already digging the wells. Absolutely incredible, and I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot of countries using renewables to go ahead and mine Bitcoin. So on the other flip side of that, Senator Elizabeth Warren attacks cryptocurrency over ransomware and energy use. I will spare you all of the details. It was recycled FUD, but really on a whole new level. They were talking about central bank digital currencies, and it was very clear that they want to do anything they can to stop Bitcoin from competing with the central bank digital currency and digital money that will eventually come from the United States, because it would be a better alternative and a competitor to the wet dream of the central bankers of controlling the money supply exactly through a central bank digital currency. My suggestion, if you watched her interviews over and over and over in the Senate committee and on TV yesterday, would be, just like we just saw in El Salvador, to hook up a Bitcoin mining rig to her face to take advantage of all that hot air that she's blowing. Absolutely free, renewable energy. Elizabeth Warren and the boomers of her generation en masse seem to be flooding Bitcoin in a coordinated effort to drive us down. We know the energy debate is absurd, so now we know they're going to move on to terrorist financing and hackers and things like that and talk even more about ransomware. What I can promise you is that we are under a microscope, and there is a whole lot of regulatory action coming in the Bitcoin space. But I'm not worried. We have billionaires, institutions looking at this, and they will probably just come up with reasonable regulation to make sure the consumers are protected, no matter what Elizabeth Warren and her friends have to say. Crypto hardware wallet maker Ledger lands $380 million Series C raise led by $10 trillion fund. Dan Tapiero's $200 million digital asset investment fund is leading the round. The raise gives Ledger a valuation of more than $1.5 billion, vaulting it to unicorn status. I guess nobody cares about the Ledger hacks of last year that were such big news, but the device is still great. That was just an informational hack. It is great to see any company in this space raising money at a high valuation and making these huge moves. So I think it's just generally encouraging to see them pushing forward and other companies doing the same. All of these huge companies are doubling down. They know that crypto is the future and that it ain't going anywhere. Don't let the Bitcoin price drop over a couple months divert your attention from what's happening in this space. This is absolutely the future. Bitcoin peeps above 38K on Basel news. Because of the volcanoes and Elizabeth Warren, there's so much bullish news, it's going completely unnoticed. Basel is the largest regulator in the world. The top cryptocurrency hit a high of 38,461 during the European hours, extending Wednesday's double-digit rally. And this is why they're saying the Basel Committee's proposal gave banks a green light to hold the leading cryptocurrency and other assets. This might be the most bullish news we've ever seen, and is going basically completely unreported. The biggest regulator in the world is saying that banks all over the world can custody Bitcoin and other crypto assets. And they're telling you exactly how you have to do it. The bearish side of that is that they're saying that Bitcoin and Ethereum and such are the riskiest assets, so that if banks are going to participate in Bitcoin services, they need to be backed one for one with dollars. But that's how money should operate and how banks should operate anyway. Fractional reserve banking is bad, and the dollar itself used to be on a gold standard and have to be backed. So I don't see that as a negative. They also said that stable coins can be viewed separately within the normal framework because they don't have the volatility and risk. But just to be clear, we now have the largest regulator in the world, the Basel Committee, saying you have a green light to custody and deal in cryptocurrency and digital assets. You just have to view them as risky and have to be backed by dollars. Absolutely amazing. Another big piece of news that seems to be going unnoticed is that Coinbase signs 401k Bitcoin investment deal. Is the first of its kind. We've seen self-directed IRAs and individual retirement accounts with Bitcoin in them, but we've never seen corporate 401ks. Bitcoin is saying that they can do 5% contributions to go towards Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and other crypto on Coinbase's platform. This could absolutely open the floodgates for 401k matching and for institutions and companies to allow their employees to invest in Bitcoin in their 401ks. The retirement market is absolutely massive. Trillions and trillions and $1 trillion wall of money just waiting to get in. So we need things like this to happen to open the gates to that money. JP Morgan points to Bitcoin futures as signal for bear market. Bitcoin futures curve was in backwardation for most of 2018, a year when Bitcoin lost 74% of its value. That is worth noting. Futures are trading below spot price. For a long time, price was in contango. We were seeing that futures were priced higher down the road than the spot price, which is how a lot of institutions and other big traders were making free money on the cash and carry trade. Basically, you buy spot now and then you short the future at the higher price, and as it decays, you basically make guaranteed money on that trade. Well, that's no longer there because now it is in backwardation. And the news that nobody seems to be talking about, U.S. inflation is highest in 13 years as prices surge 5%. Consumer prices rose rapidly in May, reflecting a surge in demand and shortages of labor and materials. When did 5% become acceptable? The target was 2%. 5% inflation in the price of goods over a year is absolutely astounding and just shows how out of control central bank policy is, how out of control the Fed is, and that they do not have the ability right now to control inflation at all. And what's the answer to that? Obviously, buy Bitcoin. That's all the news and charts for today. I will be back live tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please go ahead, sign up for my newsletter down below in the description and check out Femex and everything else that I have going on. But until tomorrow, peace.